Welcome back to Learn Python for Economic Computation. We're going to continue from the script we created last time, and we're going to go ahead. We worked a little bit with the first lesson or first script in the lesson from chapter 2, and we're going to continue developing that script with the third block of script in the lesson. So this is the one that says copy list elements. Okay. And so I would say working from copy list elements for loop. Okay. And what we're going to do is understand a little bit more about calling strings. We got into this a little bit last time, but I want to use for loops to get a little bit more comfortable with calling list elements. Okay, so we call elements in a list by index, and list index always starts from 0. So we're going to create a couple lists. List 1 equals 5, 4, 9, 10, 3, 5. List 2 equals 6, 3, 2, 1, 5, 3. Okay. So we're going to print out each element separately now. Okay, and notice there's, did I count that right? We should have 6 elements, so get all 6 elements. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so if I print this, you can see here, right? And let's print this actually. That way it's separated in the output. Okay, and you can see here working from copy list elements loop.py. Okay, make that capital. That looks a little bit better. Okay, let's add a colon. I think that'll look good. And so now you can see where we're at. We just printed that first list element separately. Right, each of these got printed separately instead of printing the whole list. Let's compare this to printing the whole list. Right, I could have printed the exact same thing because it said print list 1 elements. List 1. Okay. And you can see here, you print the whole list if you did that, which is fine, but then you don't learn how to call the list by index. So all we're doing is calling list by index, not calling the whole list. And a lot of times, you're right, if you need an object from a list, you might just need the object, not the whole list. And so you'd want to read the particular value, not all of the values at once, right? So this is, of course, going to be useful to us. Let's do the same sort of thing with list 2. And in fact, if you want, you just copy paste. That's probably better. And then I'm going to just replace the 2 here. Okay, run all that, and you see the same thing down here. We worked with list 1 and list 2, calling each element separately or calling the whole list at one time. And you can see the distinction here between these. Okay. Let's make another list, list 3. And list 3 is going to append all of the values from list 1 and 2. Okay? So pretty straightforward. So list 3 is empty. Empty list. And so I'm going to identify the length of list 1. I'm going to identify the length of list 2. say for I in range k, or in range j, not k, list 3 dot append j for I in range k, list 3 dot append k. And what we're going to get is, of course, the list looking like the list concatenated. Oh, what happened here? Oh, I appended j and k. I needed to append I, and so what's the, not just I, get that copied right, list 1 I. Okay. Likewise, list 2 I. Okay. So what do I mean by this? Well, I is going to cycle from 0 to j here. And then we want to call the element in each list from 0 to the length of the list. Okay. And if you want to understand what that's doing, we can print out I each time. And I'll do the same thing here. Print out I each time. And if I run it, you're going to see it prints 0 through 5. 0 through 5. Okay. Now I'm going to print out, instead of just that, let's list 1 I and list 2 I. And you can see here, right, we're just recalling the list one element at a time. By calling the ith index value in each list, we're calling each value that's on the right hand column here. And all these values are placed in order in the final list. Okay, now you don't have to keep that. I'm going to go ahead and erase the prints. But you can see here how it is exactly that we got this. Let's add one more detail here. Let's call this list 3 elements, just like we did before. And spell that right. There we go. Run it. There we go. And you can see here we have list 1 elements, list 2 elements, and list 3 elements. Okay, and we printed this just as a list. If we'd like to, we can also print list 3 elements. And we could call every element in list 3. Okay? This seems redundant, but it's good practice. And also sees how well you can keep your focus. Sometimes you're typing and you'll miss a detail. You want to make sure you can keep track of everything. Okay, and do we go to list 310? I think so. 3, and actually go to 11. Yeah, 11. Because there's, is that right? Yep, there's 12 elements in the list. Okay, run it, and you see you get the same kind of outcome here. Okay, so that runs through the basics from the first section of chapter 2. We're going to work a little bit more with for loops in the next section. And you really want to be comfortable with for loops. They are going to appear basically anytime you ever write code in Python and you're working with data. So it's a key element, and we'll get more comfortable with this in the next lesson. See you then.